So how long have you had your ShoreTel system, Jonathan?
We implemented about 6 months ago.
And why were you guys looking at upgrading your phone system 6 months ago?
We had an older system, we had an older digital system, and we wanted to move to more modern technology. And we had a lot of issues as far as reliability with our old system, and so we wanted to rectify those issues, and then also have more flexibility in managing it ourselves as opposed to having to have service calls on it constantly and spending a lot of money to have people come out.
Okay. And how do your users like the new system?
Our users love it. We've had a lot of positive feedback, and used to we had a lot of complaints, and now we actually have people going out of their way to compliment our new system. So it's been good for IT as well as for the hospital. So it's been good.
And if you were to compare, you had mentioned administration. If you were to compare what it was like to administer the old system, to add a user, change a voicemail, to the new system, how has it affected you and your IT department?
Well, fortunately, it's really user-friendly. Used to, we didn't do any adds or moves or changes because we couldn't. We didn't have the software, we didn't have the capability, and now we do all of them, and it's really quick because of the web access we have, and because you can do it from your desktop. We can do adds, moves, and changes very quickly, move phones around seamlessly, and so our users love that because when we move workstations, it doesn't take 3 days because we have to schedule somebody to come out and move phones around. So we love it, and our users love it.
Great. And so, the hospital, you guys support, patients
Right.
and community members. If any, how has the system benefited how you guys can support your patients?
Well, the reliability is a big thing. Before we had intermittent issues with our phone system in general, that it would just go down, it would freeze up, it would fall, and we would actually have to come in at 2 o'clock in the morning to reboot a switch or reboot something, and we haven't had any of that. Our call time, we were called in at least weekly probably for a phone-related issue, and now it's hurt our paycheck a little bit, but we don't get called in nearly as often for phone-related issues.
So you guys have had it in for about 6 months. How was the performance of Inflow Communications as far as designing the system, installing it, training your users, being here on cut day? Tell me a little bit about that.
It was great because I'm not a telco guy, and so I had very limited experience with the telephone systems, and so having Inflow come in, they did all of the training. And so all of our end users sat through a course. We didn't have to train users on the system. We got to sit through super user training. They answered the questions. They were there for the cutover, which turned into a little bit more work than we had anticipated. And so Inflow, some of the Inflow guys were up on our ceiling, patching wires across and things. And so it was, they went a little bit, they went above really what we expected. We knew they would be here. We knew they would be here for the cutover and for the changes. But they were here into the early hours of the morning, I remember, and I was here as well. But they were here till the early hours of the morning, making sure that we had paging capabilities, that the phone system was up and running, and a lot of the things that we couldn't possibly predict, they were here to help out with. So the training went really well, and then the implementation, even though we ran into a lot of hiccups, we were able to work through those, and we were extremely pleased with Inflow's performance.
Awesome. So it's been in for a while, the dust has settled. How about after installation support? How has Inflow supported you when you guys have issues, since the implementation?
Well, some of the training didn't stick, unfortunately, and so some of the adds and moves and changes that we've had to make, we didn't memorize it probably quite as well as what Seth would have liked us to, and so it's been good because we can, Inflow's a phone call away, so we can give a phone call and we can say, hey, we've added this group or we're making this change. How do we do that? Some of the things you don't do on a daily basis, and so it's nice to have somebody at the end of the phone that and you recognize their voice and they recognize yours, and you can get that quick support and they can get you up and running. If they need to log in, they can log in. If maybe it's a hardware issue or something that we didn't predict. And so we've had a few issues that we needed Inflow support on, and we've been very, very pleasantly surprised with the support.
So you guys were evaluating multiple systems and multiple companies upon the sales process. What was Inflow's approach compared to other vendors as far as understanding what you wanted and presenting the system?
I would say Inflow's approach was refreshing because a lot of the vendors want you to do the legwork, work your way through, and they expect me to know everything. And like I said, I'm not a telco guy. I work in the IT department. We manage the telecommunications, but not having the knowledge that these different vendors provide, they really wanted us to do the legwork. They really wanted us to tell them specifically exactly what we want, and really we weren't at that stage. We kind of wanted to know what was available. We wanted to know what do we not just want, but what do we need, and what beyond what we're aware of, what else is out there. And so Inflow came in, they walked through the whole facility, they documented where phones are, the types of phones, and gave us recommendations for the different capabilities that we would have. And they made sure that we were looking forward as well, how this could integrate when we do different changes and upgrades. For example, our nurse call system, wanted to make sure that what we put in now is going to work with what we're going to put in the future. And so having somebody that cared enough to come in, to do some of that legwork, to get their hands dirty, to break a sweat, working their way around the hospital, it was nice compared to the guys who email you or call you and say, hey, send me this information and I'll send you a quote.
Great. And I know Inflow is also involved with preparing your network, in addition to just the ShoreTel IP phone system. Tell me a little bit about how the network, what Inflow's approach was, and how that's benefited you guys.
The network was another monster that we had. It had been pieced together by previous IT guys for 10, 15 years. And so our network was kind of a hodgepodge of different manufacturers, different brands, different devices, and it was very difficult to manage. It was difficult to monitor. We would have network outages that could last hours because we were trying to trace down where the source was. Inflow came in and said, here's your network, and they personally diagrammed and documented our network. Then they said, here's what we recommend. This is the make, this is the model, these are the manufacturers that are available, and here's how we think it should look. And they set us up with a much more manageable and user-friendly network, really, and it's created a lot more stability in our network. We don't have the network outages like we used to have, and in a hospital environment, that's important. We can't have end users not having access to medical records. I mean, now patient care is at stake. And so Inflow came in, and again, just like they did with the phone system, they made sure that we looked forward. What are you going to go to? What are your needs going to be in 6 months and 2 years? And made sure that the technology we implemented was adequate for the technology we would implement.
Other organizations that are looking, that are in your shoes 6 months ago, they're looking at upgrading their phone system, their communication system, and their network. And they might be potentially interested in working with Inflow. Any last words of wisdom for them or parting thoughts?
Look around, see what's available. But I'll tell you that in our experience, we talk to big vendors, small vendors, local vendors, California vendors. We talk to people all over. And at the end of the day, we have been 100% satisfied with Inflow Communications. We've been satisfied with the technology that they've recommended, that they've implemented. We've been satisfied with their support since then. And I can honestly say we have no complaints.
Thanks a lot, Jonathan. Appreciate it.
Thank you.